So there's this guy. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Like the true genius that I am, just before I kicked in the stream, I managed to knock over my drink. So, enjoy listening to me. Look, this is the tearing sound of kitchen towels, as I as I quickly deal with the fact that I've just drowned everything on my desk. Okay, it looks like under the edge of the desk where I have poured my drink, there are no electronic items. Which is very reassuring. Hi everybody, what a beginning to the stream that is. Hello! Welcome to Owen's, that daily Minecraft stream. The show where I stream Minecraft daily. How you doing everybody? I am a genius today. I knew that something was going to go wrong, I could tell. Actually, to be fair, quite a few things have gone wrong today. Hi everybody, welcome. I'm late. If you are new here, this is a solo survival series where I play Minecraft every day in survival solo, and I gotta go get some white wool. I'm late today, and the reason I'm late today is basically the same reason there wasn't a stream the day before yesterday. I'm getting out into the world again. I've been going for walks in the morning, and I keep oversleeping, and then I'm sort of trying to get that head on back to the outside world, and I keep not properly fitting it around my schedule. It'll get better as I get a little bit more used to it. But for the most part, we're just gonna have a normal, fun, lovely stream with no more destroying of things. Hello to Takatoshi Lee. How are you doing, my friend? And how is everybody else? I hope you're having a good time. Paul, I can't believe I knocked over my drink just as I started. The rest of my can of Monster Energy's all flat now. That's weird. It's very weird. Hi, everybody! I hope you're well. Deary me, what is going on with that? So yeah, I'm running a little bit late today, but I'm going to, I have to kind of get back in the habit of going for my walk every day. I haven't been doing that since COVID. I'm getting back to it now, a little bit of daily exercise, a little bit of getting back into the world daily. So I'm going to sort of push myself to get used to that in the mornings. And hopefully a little bit faster, because man, I have to walk up a hill to get back home. And I will tell you, I am not making great speed on that hill at the moment. How are you guys doing? Well, actually, it's just me. It's an empty stream today. It's just, I'm talking to just myself today. That's fine. I'm late. I have that coming. That's not something I can avoid, I'm afraid. Shall I tell you what I did yesterday? I did something interesting yesterday. I say interesting. I did something that was mildly interesting to me yesterday. Which is, I hooked up my old 360. I still have my Xbox 360 in the house. It's not an original model. Because the original Xbox 360, very few of those bad boys are still alive. But it is before they revised. So my Xbox 360, it's after they added the HDMI port, but before they revised the design. Do you remember they changed the 360 a little bit later on in life? I don't know if that was a slim model. Was it smaller, that 360? Maybe it's just me. I still feel like you never see those. I don't think they were that common towards the end. I think if you were to go and buy an Xbox 360 now, if you were like, I'm going to go to my local used store and buy an Xbox 360, I feel like it would still be the original design, right? The smooth one, not the more angular one that replaced it. So yeah, I still have that kicking around with the Wi-Fi adapter as well, which is strange. Because the Wi-Fi adapter used to be really expensive, and then I saw one really cheap at a I think it was in a charity shop. And I was like, I will get that for my 360. So I hooked up my 360, and I was like, this would be great, because, you know, there's still a lot of 360 games that don't have backwards compatibility and all kinds of issues like that. So this would be a terrific way of replaying those games. What a good experience. And then I went through the entire library of my Xbox 360 games and found, I think, 2 games in my library that I liked and that were not backwards compatible. And those 2 games were Crash Bandicoot: The Wrath of Cortex. Pardon me, got the hiccups now, that's great. Which is not a terrific game. It is not a good Crash Bandicoot game. And I played it after I bought it on my 360 because it wasn't available on on Xbox One. I bought it. I think it is actually available. No, wait, that's one that still hasn't joined the Xbox One's backwards compatibility list. But I bought it after playing the Crash Insane trilogy. And I was like, this is great. I enjoyed playing those old games so much. I bet it'd be wonderful to play a more recent one and, and return to the franchise. And I'd never played Wrath of Cortex before. And I was like, well, this is the first one after the sort of classic original 3 PlayStation titles. I bet it'll be, you know, good. It's not. It's okay. It's very aggressively okay. It's very much of its time. So if I want, I could play that. And then Spider-Man Web of Shadows I found, which is, I think actually, because there aren't a lot of games on the Xbox Store that aren't backwards compatible now. I think actually licensed stuff like that is probably the stuff you're looking at. The stuff that's the most... Like, there's one game, I do like it. I owned it, but it was a damaged copy. I think I am going to try and replay this, but... Star Trek Legacy is probably, like, my favorite 360 game that is no longer available on... it's not available on backwards compatibility because it's licensed. And that's the kind of stuff you're looking at, these periodic licensed games. One game, weirdly enough, Batman Arkham Origins is backwards compatible, but you have to have the disc version to run it. It won't run digitally, which means I can't run it on my Series S. I've been thinking about buying Arkham Origins again on Xbox and just bringing my One X down just to stream that one thing. But that feels like a waste. I don't know. Just for that one game. I could play the Steam version, but I don't know if the DLC is still available and stuff like that. Anyway, this is just a ramble about Xbox. I hooked up the 360, and the backwards compatibility on the Xbox One is so good now that the 360 just isn't... it just doesn't have much left, sadly. I was expecting more to it. Maybe I'll do Web of Shadows one day, because that's one of the forgotten Spider-Man games. I think that was the last one from the Activision deal. Oh no, because they published the 2 Treyarch games, I think. The Edge of Time and Shattered Dimensions, which I still like. I still think they're good games. I know a lot of people do not, but I liked Edge of Time a lot, actually. I don't know if that one ever came to PC. But then now, I have to find, because, like, Star Trek Legacy, which I was trying to play, it's part of the reason I hooked to my Xbox again, because I thought I still had my copy of Star Trek Legacy, and I don't. But, that doesn't install on Windows 10 now, which is a shame. And you can usually make some stuff work, but not that, apparently, which is a shame. It's not even that good a game. I'm just weirdly fixated on it. It's not even that fantastic a game. So today, if you saw the previous episode, and I apologize people who are missing the stream because I'm going at the wrong time, you will never hear me say this, but, you know, today, we are basically, we are basically getting some white wool and finishing the pattern around the Tintin rocket, which I think will be not too much needed before we finish that. I think we only need to finish the layer we're on and then do one more layer of squares. It'll make more sense when you can see it, but I need white wool for that because it's made out of red and white wool. I built the whole body in red wool, and now I'm just getting together the white wool for it. I will have some more Mass Effect later today, by the way, and I don't think we'll finish Mass Effect 2 today, but I think we've got maybe just 2 episodes of Mass Effect 2 left. I did a big push yesterday to get as many loyalty missions finished as I could, and now I've only got 2 loyalty missions left. I got Kasumi's and Jack's, which are 2 of the most fun, I think. And then there's one entry, weirdly enough, there's one entry still. I think maybe, I could be wrong here, but I think maybe I never actually finished Mass Effect 2. I could be wrong, but I remember playing Mass Effect 2. Upon replaying it, I think maybe I never actually pushed all the way through to the end, because there is a slot in my squad roster for a companion, and I don't know who it is or where to find them. So I might just be pushing forward without them. And I just don't remember who that might be, so that'll be really interesting to see. I think I'm probably going to take a little break. Not a big one, just a little break. between Mass Effect 2 and 3 though, because I'm enjoying Mass Effect. I'm very much enjoying the remaster, but I just played Mass Effect 1 and 2 like almost in like a single burst, right? We finished Mass Effect 1 in like a week. Mass Effect 2's been a little bit longer, but really fun series of games to revisit though. I'd forgotten how much I liked Mass Effect 2 and how much better than Mass Effect 1 it was. Even though I do miss certain elements of Mass Effect 1's kind of RPG mechanics, I think some of the way characters work in Mass Effect 1 is more fun. Some of the arrangements of skills. Mass Effect 2 is definitely like simplified, and I feel like the powers don't play as much of a role in it. But maybe that's because of the character I chose too. I went Soldier, and Soldier doesn't need as many powers and doesn't get as interesting powers, if you know what I mean. They're much more like combat focused. Whereas I think I'm gonna go a different route in Mass Effect 3. I went Vanguard in 1, and then I went Soldier in 2. I think I'm gonna go either like full biotic or full tech in 3. Assuming I can change class again, I think you can. Because they've never had those games so that you keep like powers and skills across from one gen to the other, one game to the other. That's always been a bit they've always avoided, because then you wouldn't have any sense of progression if you did it like that. And I think I've done most of the significant missions. I did there's a Cerberus mission I've skipped that I think is DLC, and I did Arrival. I could have, without noticing it, I could have skipped Arrival because of the way it introduces itself to the game. In fact, I think it's weird. Arrival, which was DLC for Mass Effect 2, the way it's integrated into that game is such that you could play it as like your first mission. And that wouldn't be great at all. I don't think that would be a fun way to play. That's one of the things in games I find I don't love so much. When they bundle games together for like Game of the Year editions, certain types of DLC, it's fine, it works okay. But there are certain types of DLC where having it bundled in at the beginning of the game, I think really like screws up the game. Probably the one I remember the most is I bought The Sims when it was new, the original Sims game. And then I bought the expansions for The Sims over time, one by one. And that's a great way to do it, right? But then later on, I bounced off the game for a while and came back. And I came back with like a full set of expansions right up to, I think the last one was Making Magic. And trying to install The Sims like that and playing it from scratch with all the expansions installed day one, I think is a terrible way to play that game. I think you need to kind of graduate up through the expansions, otherwise it's really overwhelming. Particularly since, I mean, I have to say, if you're on a PC from the time and you're installing The Sims and you're playing it from scratch, and you install all the expansions before you play, you have to go through, on the original game at least, these ridiculously long loading screens as it like builds all your neighborhoods and towns. It's a real bind the first time. So not a very accessible experience right from scratch, I have to say. We're just collecting a bunch of wool here. I know I'm taking a little while, but essentially I'm just trying to make sure I've got more than enough wool before we do this so that we don't have to take a trip back, basically, which I think will be a bind. Feel free to jump in the chat and say hello. I am reading the messages. I am here. I am pleased to see and hear from you all. And also making sure that I haven't poured weird sticky energy drink all over my mouse. That would be weird. Basically. Right, so. Okay, let's clear this inventory a little bit. Maybe it's just my imagination, but I feel like the white wool sheep don't produce wool. Oh, hey, we got a little wool in here. I feel like they don't produce wool as fast as the others. Is this just paranoia? I think it might be. Right, what can we dump? Eggs. Bone meal. Yeah, that'll do. Hello to Otter Out of Water, how you doing? Hello to David Figs. Welcome, welcome, guys. How are you? Nice to see you all. I know I'm running late today, so it's a little quieter stream than normal, but that just means you all get my undivided attention, I guess. Well, somewhat divided. There are a few people watching. But not massively divided. We're not talking loaves and fishes here. I never really got that story as a kid. Maybe it's because, we've talked about this on stream before, that I'm mildly autistic, right? So I have a slight tendency to take things too literally. But, when they were talking about the story of the loaves and the fishes as a kid, because I never got that story until I was older, right? I never got the miracle of the story, which is, they had a small amount of bread and fish, but miraculously, as they divided it, it kept dividing, and it fed everybody magically, right? Somehow, even though there shouldn't have been enough to go around, there turned out to be enough to go around through magic, right? They just kept breaking it, and they kept having more to break, and there was enough, right? That's the supposed message. For years, when I was a kid, and I would hear that story, because I grew up in a quite religious community, I could only imagine it as everybody got an absolutely tiny piece of bread and fish, and that was the miracle. He gave people like a flake of fish and a crumb each, and called it a miracle. It's really strange. A lot of Jesus' miracles in the Bible are kind of weird, right? Like, they're not... Maybe it's just me, right? But the things we think of as miracles for Jesus, there are some that make sense. He walked on water. Okay, that's fair enough, you know. And then there's, he turned water into wine, which is, I mean, okay. It's magical, if he did. But it's also sort of a, like a party trick in a way, right? It's for a wedding, right? It's not like he turned the Romans into dust. That's the fascinating thing about the New Testament for me, right? Jesus comes along, he's supposed to be the Messiah, he's supposed to be the Son of God. He's going to do these miracles that are going to prove his divinity. But his miracles are way less impressive than the miracles that, like, Moses in the Old Testament does. Right? Like, parting the Red Sea, bringing a plague upon Egypt, turning a river into blood, all this stuff. Jesus comes along, New Testament era, and his miracles are all sort of crap. You know what I mean? It's a really strange thing. For the sequel, you always up the stakes. Right? Come on, guys, we're doing Testament 2. Jesus is gonna surfboard down a building that's exploding while asteroids hit, right? That's what he should have done. David Fix says, what are you doing with all that wool? So I'm making a rocket. It's supposed to be the... I don't know why I said rocket like that. I'm making a rocket! And it's supposed to be like the rocket from Tintin, the Destination Moon rocket from the Tintin comic book. And that has a pattern. It's not a perfect reproduction, but that's what I'm going for. And that has a pattern around the outside that's like a checkerboard pattern that goes in a belt around the center of the rocket. I've built most of the rocket so far. Now I've just got to add the checkerboard pattern, which is mostly done, actually. I don't know how much wool I'm going to need, but I don't know if I'm going to need to do... I don't know if I'm going to sort of gauge the height and then want to do more, so we shall see. Bear says, hi, I think you need more white wool. I hope we'll be okay. How are you, Bear? It's nice to see you. I hope you are well. I'm going to say rocket like that from now on, just... Oh yeah, what's your favorite Elton John song? Rocket Man! Don't you mean Rocket Man? No, Rocket Man! Rocket Man! I do like that thing. So I was reading this thing, speaking of Mass Effect, this is sort of talking about it, how sometimes you say things you don't mean. Mass Effect, because I've been playing that recently on the channel, that's famously one of those games where you get presented with 3 dialogue options or whatever, and you'll pick one of them, expecting it to be something, and then it'll come out completely different to what you planned, and you're like, what? No? What are you talking about, Shepard? I don't want to say that. Like, the options will be yes, no, maybe. You'll pick maybe, and he goes, well, maybe I'll break your fucking face. And you're like, no, okay, no, hold on, that's not what I said. Maybe is in like, well, maybe I will, maybe I won't. Yeah, maybe I will, maybe I won't. Break your fucking face. No, stop it, video game. That's not the dialogue option. Anyway. But I saw somebody recently say that they don't have a problem with games like that, because that's kind of sometimes, how it happens in real life, right? You'll intend to say something, and then when you actually say it, it just comes out all wrong, and you get stuck with the kind of improper version of what you meant to say. And ever since that, I've kind of loved that in video games, because I'm absolutely that guy, right? I will intend to say a thing that is either comforting or helpful or supportive, and it'll come out like, well, you're an idiot, you know? And since then, I've learned to embrace video games that do this. Bear says, I'm okay, thanks. I suffered in the heat. It's been over 20 degrees C the last week. Yeah, it's getting really hot here, too. I went for a walk this morning. It's partly why I'm so late. I'm trying to get back in the habit of daily walks, which is what I was doing before COVID hit. And then since COVID, because of health reasons and stuff, we've been very, very precaution-y here. So I've been trying to get back to it, but I'm having a little trouble getting used to my schedule with doing it before the stream. So yeah, it's interesting. So that is actually really fascinating. It looks like the next layer is too wide. It's not, but it looks like the next layer is too wide. All those layers are exactly the same block's distance. But the second layer looks kind of wider as a result of, I guess, the change in height. We did make it higher. Of course, as we get closer, it looks a little better. So what we've got to do is put the next layer on. That layer of white blocks isn't finished yet because it goes on to the next layer in. So we're going to make sure it's at least 3 wide, and then I'm thinking of going to 4. But I don't remember. Maybe I should look up the Tintin rocket and see how many it has. And hello to Loose Corner, how you doing, my friend? Welcome. Okay, the Tintin rocket goes up to 4. That's fine, I can live with that. Oh, I've made the mistake of locking up the Tintin rocket. And now I'm painfully aware that that's not the shape of the boosters. They've got a curve to it. That's fine. I've been trying to avoid looking up the Tintin rocket too much, because I know that mine is not exact. Bear says, I ordered some Lego to build this weekend. The new Speed Champ Koningegg Jesko, the Swedish hypercar, as Lego. That's cool. I haven't bought a Lego set in a long time, because I just keep... I went through a phase where I got back into Lego as an adult, and I was enjoying it. And then I realized I was accumulating sets without fixing them. I've got the Doctor Who Lego TARDIS. The Lego TARDIS with the Doctor and the control room and all that stuff. And people who know me will know I am a huge Doctor Who fan. But I still haven't built it. In fact, right now, off the top of my head, I don't know where it is. Partly because, I don't know if you guys remember, I very briefly did a series of Lego building streams. And then as soon as I started doing that, it meant that I just had to, that was it then. Oh no, sorry, you can't build Lego today, you gotta do it as a stream. I workaholicked my Lego. Okay. But yeah, I love that TARDIS set. I'm really looking forward to when I finally get in and build it. I just don't know where, I don't remember where it is at the top of my head. Okay, so these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it needs to be at least 7 high. So we need to increase up to the next layer. Hello to Shuts Gaming. How you doing? Hello to Cheesy Wheezy. Dairy Fig says it's 26 Celsius here in South Florida. That is warm. I don't know what temperature we are here today, but I would guess we're at least in the 20s. It's been cold for a little bit. Actually, we're a little cooler today. Yesterday was hot. The day before yesterday, when I went for that walk, I got burned. I burn. I am a sunburner. Right. Now, this is going to be awkward. I'm going to need to build a scaffold around. But the problem is it's going to have to be far enough away that we don't bump on the edge, but near enough that we can actually still remove the blocks. So let's just work this way. Because as we get close to the top of the rocket, we're narrowing in now. Because the end is starting to taper. So let's just build a little circle here. So what we need to do now is just continue the squares up. These are, let's see, 1, 2... Okay, let's get a little closer. 1, 2, 3, 4. They need to be at least 6 high, maybe 7 high. Because they're 7 wide, and they're supposed to be squares. But as the end narrows, they won't be 7 wide anymore. They'll probably end up being 6. Okay, we're gonna have to use a little bit of the white wool just to finish the scaffold, which will do for now. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go to that's my oops. That's my my stuff already done. Cheesy Weezy says, wait, never mind, it's just the game sounds. Hold on. That's my capture card. My capture card has this funny thing sometimes where when it gets disconnected and reconnected, it screws the game sounds up. It's a little frustrating. So I have to kind of remove it and add it again to fix that. Let me just... And then I have to add a little filter to the audio. Just making sure we got that. Okay, that should be in sync now. Although, I'm not making any sounds, so... Okay, is that better? It should be. Right, let me go make a crafting table. Bear says, I have a TARDIS skill once one of my Minecraft base. A server friend built it for me. I can send a pic on Discord later if you're interested, Owen. You can send it if you want. I always mean to build a TARDIS in Minecraft, and then I never really get around to it. I do love the TARDIS. I'm a huge Doctor Who fan. It's probably my favorite science fiction franchise. But the problem with the TARDIS is to build it with the kind of detail you need. I think Shots Gaming says that's a lot better. Phew! I'm relieved. To build it with the kind of detail you need, you always have to make it pretty big. So the last time I attempted to build one, I kind of had it gauged huge. And so it took me a long time to make any kind of basic progress with it. Okay, I'm going to go put a crafting table down there. At some point, I have to put, like, a scaffold on this whole system. And I don't really know if that's going to be, viable. But we can try it. Because it needs to have a sort of support structure. Even though this rocket has, like, 3 feet, so it doesn't really need it. Thankfully I was carrying all that iron. That'll do. And thankfully I made this tower out of sand. If I'd made this out of sandstone, I'd be stuck. This, by the way, I think is one of the creepiest pieces of Minecraft music. I don't know why, but I find something weirdly unsettling about this one. It's kind of a bizarre alien landscape effect to it, you know? I don't know, I think this one's one of the more uncomfortable pieces of Minecraft tunage. There we go. So the important thing is that it's directly in line with the contour, well, it's not the contour line, the separating line between the blocks on the previous level. So we need to just lay this out, and then before we make the next layer, we need to check from the outside how the height balance looks. Because if it looks too short, we'll need to add another layer on. I don't think it's going to, though. Because they need to look square, which means they're supposed to have the same height and the same width, but because as I say, because the rocket is tapering, that means that the width has narrowed, because the square is applied to the outside. Okay, I'm going to start with this. Side here. There we go, that's what we need. The important thing is that within a block, within a square of the color, that dividing line needs to continue up perfectly. So it needs to, if you see, so it needs to split up there. Okay, right now, let's just take a look. See how that looks from the outside. We're losing a little bit of wool here. This corner says, I suppose if you build a nether portal and make a sort of blue wool TARDIS-y outer shell, that'd work. The console room would have to be in the nether, though. That would work, though, if you made the outside solid, I guess. But yes, that's a good idea. You could make the entrance to the TARDIS a door that leads straight through to a nether portal. And then make it bigger on the outside. Sorry, bigger on the inside. Okay, that's one little block of red there, but... The problem is there's some wool there, hanging around the outside, ruining the effect a little bit. But I actually think that's fine. What do you guys think? They look about matched square, I'd say. I think I can live with that. Alright, thank you, Bear. I'll take a look after. Okay, so let's do one more. And I think we'll have enough wool for this. I could be wrong, but I think we will. Let's put a little illumination on the issue. It's not a phrase people say, I'm sorry. Right. One, two, three, four, five, six. Yeah, we're back to 6 wide. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, cool. We're not gonna go. Cool. Sorry about that. We're not gonna. I hate myself for saying that. It's terrible. We're not. Oh, damn it! Where have I just taken that off from? There, right? Yes, because that's gonna go up to there. Burp. I think we can jump across to... Is that even? Yeah, I think we can. Perfect. Okay. Oh, thank you, Dave. I appreciate that. Bear says, the TARDIS cost me 32 diamonds in pay. I think it was not cheap, but it is a lot of maps. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6. 4, 5, 6. 5, 6. Great. I'm actually glad I'm recouping a lot of red wool, so I'm not having to waste white doing this. And for the most part, what I'm taking away is exactly the space of the white wool, so... There's always enough to get by. How much white wool we got left? Oh, that's going to be enough to finish this whole thing, I think. Okay, just one left. And then we're done. Let's take a little bit of this wool back. So I'll squeaky that. Just one left and then we're done. Boy, Pluto! I used to be able to do a really good Mickey Mouse impression. In recent years, it has been robbed from me by the ravages of time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Not that that was a great skill. I don't think I'd have been using it at any work conferences anytime soon. Mind you, I guess there are YouTubers who make a career out of that, don't they? Voiceover stuff. I'd love to be interested in I'd love to be interested in voiceover. I'd love to be good enough to like pursue that as an interesting thing, because I think it's a fascinating career thing, but it's not I don't know, it's not something I think I'd be great at. I used to like doing, you know, I tell you what it is, I think a lot of voiceover actors, they have to be good at impressions in a way, because you have to be able to kind of get a cadence of a voice. I used to be good at maybe characters, but not so much voices. Alright. I think that's done from the outside. Let's get a little of this wool back, just in case we need any of this. Hello to Dania, how you doing? I'm pretty good. Thank you for asking. Alright. Down we go. La 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 bum bum bum. Da 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 da. Oh! Alright, jerk. Well, I'm having quite a day. So it looks like the other creeper that blew up did take out a little bit of the ship, but not a ton. Probably enough that we can replenish this in a pretty quick second. Where did it blow up? It was here. Yeah. I don't know, this still seems kind of wrong. I don't really know why. Maybe that was always just kind of wrong, and I didn't notice. And I'll leave it like that for now. Okay. Whoa, cactus! Oh, cactus! Not too bad. Not too bad, I think. As far as things go. Right, we got a little distance from the rocket, because I think it just makes sense. Okay, so if I were to do that again, I'd make a few changes. One of the changes would be that I would make the squares taller, so they take up a little bit more of the rocket. But it's not bad, it's not terrible, it's clearly what it is. You know, let's get a little height on it. The proportions aren't great. I think the boosters are a little off. But I was deliberately not using reference images because I wanted to kind of capture the vibe of it rather than the specifics. That said, now I've looked at the specific rocket, it feels more off than it did before. This is one of those builds where it's really, really hard to get above it. I love Minecraft from the sky, by the way. Yeah, it doesn't look bad. It's not perfect. I think I'd like to attempt something like it again. Alright. Gotta go repair my tools, though, actually. Probably my next destination. Back to the ground. Right, let's go get a little bit of repair on our tools, and then I guess we'll start working on how we're going to work on what sort of scaffolding support we're going to use. I think what I'll probably try and do is make a simple tower alongside at the right height first, with a basic support structure, and then tweak the build a little bit, so it's got like a scaffold and a gangway and things like that. The usual stuff. Right, I got my minecart here. Actually, I'm right by the rail. I could just go from here. I'll get stopped on the break by the house, but that's fine. I can live with that. How are you guys doing today? Are you excited on this fine day? What even day of the week is it today? I think it's Thursday, right? It's gonna be good seeing that thing complete. I like big builds. I like big builds, and I cannot lie. I like big builds in Minecraft. I think for me, it's the one thing that makes Minecraft enjoyable to keep coming back to day after day. Because, not so much in creative, because in creative it's just putting blocks down. Minecraft in creative, without disparaging people who enjoy that kind of thing, but it's a different type of thing. It's art software, really. And that's fun, but it's not what I like to do. When you build something in survival, I think, if it's a genuinely substantial build... Hello to Z1XX3ZZ, who says, love your stream. Or if you're American, Z1XX33, who ZZ. Thank you very much, I appreciate it. Thank you for being here. I think if you build stuff in survival and you can get stuff that's actually of a significant, decent size, like the castle, for example, that does become impressive. I think survival builds are generally... It's not just the artistry, but the time, the patience and things, if you can get them done. I'm not blowing my own trumpet here. I don't think I'm one of the most impressive survival builders or anything like that. I think I'm barely above beginner, really. But I have had a few projects where I know it's taken me a long time, and people enjoy that element of it. One of the builds I'd actually love to reattempt these days, because I know for a fact I would do so much better with it. It would be such a different experience for me now, if I did it, is, the dome. I don't know if you guys remember this, but I once made a giant dome in survival. And the idea was that it was going to be this huge glass dome. Half in the water, half out with the water, completely hollow. But I was very early with Minecraft at that time, so I didn't really know how to do a lot of stuff. I don't even think I had, like, respiration and aqua affinity and stuff. So everything took me a lot longer. So I built this dome, and I deliberately built it so that it was... the exact halfway point was the surface of the water, which was fun. And then, there was gravel at the bottom. I dug into the gravel to get it done, and I made the whole thing, and it was this big glass sphere, which was a lot of fun as a project, but then I had to empty the water. So if you can imagine, this dome was pretty big. If I was to walk the circumference, it would be like a circle like this. Right? See the circle I'm going in here? It was big. It would have taken a while to walk around. It was a big circle. Big sphere. And then I had to get rid of the water, and I didn't know what to do. People kept shouting in the chat, such that it almost became a meme for a few years afterwards in my chat, to use sponges whenever I did anything with water. Use sponges! Why aren't you using sponges? And I will tell you, because they're terrible. When I finally got some sponges... I would have had to go on a completely different quest to find the sponges. But when I finally got some sponges and saw how well they worked, compared to what people were suggesting, which is that it would just, like, soak up all the water overnight or something like that, it was genuinely astonishing. That said, some sponges would have helped. But what I did was I broke the inside of the whole thing into sections and just filled it with sand. That was how I got rid of huge sections of water from inside this dome. Just filling it with sand. Filling it with sand and gravel from other places. In huge quantities. And it took a long time. If I was doing it again now, I would do it completely differently, and I know what I would do, which is I would break it down into very tight sections and break the water out a bit at a time. Like fill a 4x4 square with sand. Well, no, sorry, like maybe like a 5x5 square with sand, so there's a block in the middle, and then take the one little tunnel out. And yeah, it would have taken a while. Mind you, then how would I have gotten out? Or just fill the whole damn thing with sand. It was an interesting project. I would be interested in attempting to do that again, just to see how it would turn out today if I did that whole thing again. Hello to Aubrey, who says, "Use sponges!" How are you, Aubrey? It's nice to see you again. Long time no see. I hope you're well. Ça va? I'll never get tired of seeing those use sponges methods. It was a haunting time. A haunting time for us all. It's a little different now, perhaps because Minecraft's not as popular as it used to be, so you don't get as many kind of angry know-it-alls as you used to. But it used to be a really frustrating thing to be streaming Minecraft in survival, because you would always be confronted by people, like, whenever you stream, you're always going to have a certain section of people in the audience who know more than you. That's fine. You can't do anything about it. It's completely normal. But certain things used to make people very, very, very aggressively annoyed. It's why, for example, to this day, I don't do stuff with redstone on stream. And the reason I don't do stuff on redstone on stream, and this is not like I don't like being told what to do thing, but the thing about redstone is, it's very precise, it's very technical, it's very fiddly. And so if you do it on stream, you tend to get constantly harassed by people who know how to do everything perfectly. So you can't learn anything. And they get very cross if you don't know how to do it. Because if you know how to do it, it must be frustrating to watch. But they don't get into that mindset, like, okay, this is just a thing that is a problem with me. They always direct that anger outwards at you. It's very strange. Bill Bob says, "Why does my dad not love me?" It is a universal truth of the world that parents hate trolls, I'm afraid. Sorry. Trolls are, of course, the lowest of the low. And so, it's like, have you ever seen the beginning of, Batman Returns? You know? It's an educational moment for us all. Batman Returns. It opens on a cold, icy night in Gotham 30 years ago. And we pan through an ancient house where we zoom in on an aristocrat. I was going to say an aristocrat then, that would be interesting. An aristocrat played by Paul Rubens, who was Pee Wee Herman. And he's drinking heavily while the sounds of his wife in labor travel down the hall. And then the child is revealed after its birth. And it's the Penguin. And we don't see him at the time, but we later discover that he's born disfigured with flippers for hands and a pallid skin complexion and a oddly bird-shaped nose. It's a real strange take on the Penguin, honestly. To be good, it's a good film, but. And then Paul Rubens as whatever the Penguin's dad's name is, Mr. Cobblepot, screams, "No!" Ah! And that's what parents do upon discovering that their children are, well, you know, YouTube trolls. Thus being the lowest of the low. Hello to EJ Strachan. How you doing? Happy birthday, Jenna. I hope you have a good birthday. I feel like the spawn is not running as fast as it used to. Sorry, Bill Bob. Bob now. You'll have to find another channel to bother. Sinister Minister says, I found! And then my chat scrolled up annoyingly. The Chill! You did find the Chill. Welcome. How you doing? Hope you guys are having a fun afternoon today. I'm probably not going to be going too much longer. I'm running late today, so this is more of a catch-up, make sure I show my face and fulfill my obligations stream. Just getting a little tool repair. How are you guys doing today? I'll be back later with some Minecraft, of course. And I'm hoping, like I say, I'll be getting myself back to good timing. I should have worked that morning routine. I'm doing it again. I'm doing that thing again where I spend my whole stream apologizing for my schedule changes. I've been doing this a lot lately. I've been noticing it comes out against my will. It's like a really, really, really bad Exorcist movie. Your mother delays her stream in hell. You know, like that. I was talking to John the other day about the movie, I wonder how many people remember this movie. It's a it's a Leslie Nielsen parody movie called Repossessed with, what's her name from, with the original actress from The Exorcist in. And it's it's probably my favorite of the, obviously everybody's favorite is the Naked Gun movies and Airplane. But it's probably my favorite of the knockoffs of those that Leslie Nielsen did in the years after Naked Gun and Airplane. Partly because it's a funny movie in places. Partly it's very bad. But it has a great running gag involving two televangelists that is so genuinely funny that to this day, whenever I think of televangelists, I think of the two televangelists from the movie Repossessed. Repossessed is a good movie, because like many of the spoofs from that era, it positions itself as kind of a pseudo sequel to the movie it's parodying. So it is a quite authentic parody of The Exorcist at times. But it's also presenting itself as kind of like The Exorcist 2. Hence the repossessed joke. It's about a kid who is possessed and then possessed again. I don't know how they got Linda Blair back for it, though. I get probably because Linda Blair hasn't really had a career since the original Exorcist. Which, by the way, is right and proper, because the original Exorcist is the most overrated horror movie of all time. My mom told me, Sinister Minister says, my boss gave me a key to his house and went out of town. Ooh. House party at Sinister Minister Boss's house! That's how that works, right? This is an 80s movie premise, right? The man who works for the weed drying company. His boss goes out of town and leaves him a key to his house. And then he tells a bunch of people online. They all show up. Hijinks ensue, right? If we could also organize for someone to die, we can have a Weekend at Bernie's situation. All the dominoes are falling into place. That never happens in real life. But yeah, Exorcist. People in the chat, I want you to answer 2 questions for me. Every member of the chat is now required to answer these 2 questions. Well, possibly 1 question, possibly 2. The first question is, have you seen The Exorcist, the original? The second is, if you have seen The Exorcist, do you think it's a good film? I do not like to be contrarian, though I do tend that way. I have never understood the appeal of The Exorcist. Many, many years ago, my mom told me that she went to see The Exorcist when it was first in theaters. And the hype for it was such that they had nurses in the theaters ready to sort of resuscitate you in case it was too scary for you. In retrospect, my mom took this very, very seriously. She thought it was like a panic thing. I think, in retrospect, this was marketing for the movie. This was an attempt to make the movie seem more frightening than it is. But, I don't know. David Fix says, I gotta go, I enjoyed the live stream. Thank you very much, I appreciate it. Sinister Minister says, highly overrated. That's how I feel, yeah. McBella says, yes, I've seen the original Exorcist, and it was a good movie for the first time. At present, it kind of sucks. Yeah, I don't get it. I've heard that the appeal of The Exorcist is not so much the scares during the famous scary bits, with the stabbing with the crucifix and the all that stuff, but the real appeal of The Exorcist from people who really love that movie is apparently the sort of slow burn tension as the mother starts to come to terms with the fact that Satan might exist. But yeah, I don't care for it. I think the other one from the other 70s horror movie, oh man, I can't remember what it's called. Someone will know. It's the one about the couple that buy the house, and the house is, it's a really famous one. It was remade a couple of times. They buy the house, it turns out a load of murders took place in the house. All these flies appear, and they try and get priests over to bless the house, but they start getting like urges to kill each other. And I can't remember what the movie's called. Oh my god. It's a really famous one, too. Amityville! The Amityville Horror! That's the one I'm thinking of. I think that one is better. I don't love the Amityville Horror either, but I think it's better than The Exorcist. And the less said about the sequels, the better. The Exorcist 2 is obviously a terrible movie. I've talked about this before. I completely forgot. A few years ago, I was reading... I don't know why. I was reading the Wikipedia listings for all the Exorcist movies. And I got to one called Exorcist The Beginning, I think it's called. And I'm reading this plot summary for Exorcist The Beginning. And I'm reading it, and I get about halfway through, and I'm like, I've seen this film. I couldn't remember when I'd seen it, because I was like, surely I didn't buy this, or watch it on DVD, or anything like that. I can't imagine that I enjoyed this movie. Yeah, Stereo Amityville Horror, that's the one I was thinking of. Because it sounded terrible. It had, what's his name from Thor in, Skarsgård, as Father Merrin. So I'm reading this plot summary about this movie, and I'm like, I've seen this. And I remembered these CGI hyenas. And then I remembered I had gone to see a film with some friends from school, and that's the movie they wanted to see, and I found it terrible. And actually, in retrospect, I probably like that one more than the original Exorcist 2. The Exorcist is just one of those horror films. The thing about horror is, it's one of those things where, if you separate it from its original context, if too much time's passed, or if you see it, special effects have dramatically changed, or it's a really popular film, so it's been really influential, a lot of horror doesn't, in my opinion, age well. Not for me, obviously taste is subjective, but I find a lot of older horror movies don't, I don't find The Exorcist frightening, and I don't enjoy it. There are some old horror films I do really enjoy that I think are scary. The scariest film I have ever seen the film that I still think to this day is the most frightening horror film for me, is the original 1970s Black Christmas. And that's an old movie. That's an old movie that I think is just as scary now as it was then. Although I have to say, certain elements of it don't work now. The first time I saw that movie, and I think probably the reason why it probably wouldn't have worked for me if I saw it completely fresh today, is that movie relies on the existence of the home phone line. And that's something we've kind of lost over the years. We don't have the home phone anymore. For people who haven't seen it, the Black Christmas is the movie. It's based on an urban myth, but it's the movie. It's a movie of one of the. It's an adaptation of the urban myth of the call is coming from the inside of the house story, where the phone call comes through and they're getting all these horrible calls all the way through the movie and they don't know who they're from. And then it turns out that the call is coming from a different line in the same building and someone's in the house. It's a good movie, actually. I like it. Alright guys, I am going to wrap up there, and I'll be back with some Minecraft later on today. I hope you enjoyed the stream. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I really appreciate you being here. I will see you guys all tomorrow for more Minecraft, and later on for more Mass Effect. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Bye-bye!